Hello, dear students. I am Dr. Mangala kumari, Assistant Professor in English, Bangalore North University. In this video, I am going to talk about the topic Earth Never Dies, the first poem prescribed for second semester BSc. Okay, so in this video, we are going to reflect on the points like testing your previous knowledge about the poem and introducing the poet, introduction to the poem, and recap. Okay. Now, let us go to testing your previous knowledge. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Can you tell me what is ecology and what is environment? What is climate change? And give the reasons for climate change. Think about these concepts: ecology, environment. Okay. Environment is our surrounding. Ecology is the nature, forest and animal life, and the humans. Okay, humans are just a part of this universe. We are not just the only thing concentrated beings in this universe. We are just a part of, like all other animals, like all other beings. Insects are there, birds are there, animals are there, trees are there, nature is there, environment is there. Okay, in that way we are also a bit part of this universe. Okay, so there should be a balance, ecological balance among all these beings. Okay, including ourselves. That is why reserved forests, national reserved forests are there, and Animal Protection Act is there. You know that. And so our surrounding environment is our surrounding. We should keep our environment, our surroundings clean and pure, because we need pure air to breathe. We need to be healthy. We need pure air to be healthy. Okay, so and what do you think is climate change? So drastically climate changes are happening: untimely rain, okay, overheat, global warming, all these kind of problems, ecology related, environment related problems are happening. Okay, so what may be the reasons for this? Of course, so we are damaging our environment by polluting it. Okay, so sound pollution, water pollution, right, earth pollution, soil erosion, etc., etc., deforestation, etc. We are cutting off the trees, and urbanization, industrialization, all this. Okay, we are releasing, I mean, industries, factories are releasing the industrial waste, harmful industrial waste to the rivers. We are destroying the rivers, polluting the rivers. In Bangalore itself, you take like Rishbhavati river is completely polluted. It is giving a stench, unbearable stench. Okay, okay. So we are the reasons for this. So these are all the climate changes. And can you identify some ecological disasters of recent times? Of course. So we damage the environment. Of course, nature has its own cure. Okay, it tries to cure itself, and the replica, definitely falls on us. Okay? So if we destroy, destruction happens to ourselves. In the same way, floods are happening. Recent disasters, ecological disasters like Kerala floods, and in Karnataka, North Karnataka floods. The Krishna River overflows during the rainy season, and in the hot season, summer season, no water to drink. Okay, only once in a week water will be available. Municipality or uh, city and corporation water will be available. Like that kind of problems we humans are facing, right? And so what do you my next question is endangered species. What do you mean by endangered species? Why do you think they have become endangered? Okay, so endangered species means the species, the living beings, animals, birds, insects whose lives are in risk. Okay, or whose lives are in danger. Um, for example, sparrows in like 20 years back, sparrows were quite common. Nowadays we are not seeing sparrows. A sparrow bird, I mean, for our next generation we should show the picture of the sparrow to the children. Okay, so they are going off. Where are they going off? Okay, so nobody bothers actually. So this is, I mean, this is the point we have to brood over, right? And Bengal, I mean, tigers are endangered species. Their lives are at risk. Okay, and some species are extinguished already. They are no more. They are not there. Dodo bird was there, it seems, once upon a time. Now their descendants is not there. Why? Because we are deforesting, destroying the nature. There is no place for them to live, and definitely they have to end their lives. They have to end their dynasty, their what to say, descendancy, right? And so tigers are endangered species, sparrows are endangered birds. In that way, there are many more, right? Collect some birds, some animals which are whose lives are at risk, which are endangered. Okay, and next question is, what is pollution? Mention the types of pollution you know. Okay, so pollution, polluting the environment. We have just talked about the pollution, water pollution, sound pollution, right? So releasing the factory waste to the river and destroying the purity of the river. Okay, so destroying the harmony of the rivers and streams, right? So like that, soil pollution is there, sound pollution is there. Water pollution is there, like that, polluting our environment. So students, keep thinking over these points. These points are directly related to our poem Earth Never Dies. Okay, so, and before we go to the poet and the poem, uh, let me test your previous knowledge. What is poetry? Do you know what is poetry? Okay, so keep thinking about poetry, because many writers, learned persons, have given the definition. For example, according to William Wordsworth, poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings collected in tranquility. That is his definition of poetry. William Wordsworth adores nature. He gives that definition as poetry. Okay. And my next question is, have you heard of African poets, African writers in your previous classes previously? African writing, in the sense I remember, most probably most of you also remember Chinua Achebe. Chinua Achebe is one of the universally acclaimed African writers. Okay, his Things Fall Apart is so popular, well read, mostly read novel, and he's also a poet, right? And apart from him, there are many writers like Chinua Achebe, Jack Mapanze, Dennis Brutus, and our Mimi was in there, okay, who we are talking about now, right? And what is African poetry? African poetry, the features of African poetry definition, like I've already given you one definition by Wordsworth, and African poetry features. Let me tell you, students. Okay, so oral culture is so popular in Africa, in Nigeria and Africa. Our Me Vasundar, the poet, is from Nigeria. Nigeria, of course, is in Africa, and oral culture is so popular in Africa. So, what is embedded in so innate in Africa? African poetry is both oral and written forms. Okay, it is in both oral and written forms, and it has variety of themes like worldview, mysticism, values, religion, nature, negritude. Negritude means about blacks, okay? Black people, black skinned people, black culture, okay? And personal relationships, anti-colonialism. So Africa was also under the rule of British, like India came under the British rule. In the same way, Africa was also under British imperialism, colonization, colonialism, anti-colonialism. African writers write about anti-colonialism also, and urbanization, okay, and migration, African diaspora, patriarchy, okay. So like India, Africa also is the land of patriarchy. All these are the features of African poetry. And my next question is, we have already talked about polluting the environment by humans. Okay, so who are polluting? We are polluting, of course, polluting our environment, our surrounding, and yeah. So the consequences. What are the consequences of polluting the environment? Of course, our environment, our surrounding will be damaged, and we have to face the problem, like impure air, impure water, health. It affects on our health, and scarcity of water. Okay, global warming. These kind of problems will occur, and we will have to face those things, of course. And my next question is, what is optimism? How do you define optimism? Okay, optimism is being hopeful, having the hopes in the midst of all this mishappenings, okay, mishappenings, right? In this miserable situation, having a single ray of hope is called as optimism. Okay, so being hopeful, not losing the hopes, that is optimism. And keep thinking over these points before we go to the poem. And what do you mean by being optimistic? So of course, not losing, not getting disheartened, okay, in any kind of crucial situation, right? Having the hope that it will what to say, be good in future. I am going to have good future. Okay, good is going to happen in future. That kind of confidence, that kind of positiveness, positive thinking, that is called optimism. Okay, so dear students, with this background, let us go to um, uh, the poet. Okay, uh, yeah. So I'm going to the introduction of the poet Nii Vasundar. Nii Vasundar is the writer of the poem Earth Never Dies, our first poem, first topic uh, in second semester BSc. Okay, Nii Vasundar, you can see the picture in the on the slide. Okay, Nii Vasundar is a Nigerian poet who is born in Nigeria. He is also a dramatist. Apart from being a poet, he is also a dramatist, literary critic. Okay, one who criticizes, one who reviews the literary pieces, vimarshaka. Okay, and also a political activist. He is also actively taken part in politics and cleansing the political situation. Okay, so he is fighting for cleaning the political situation, politics, political activist. He is born on March 12th, 1947 in Nigeria. His birth year is 1947, the year when we got independence, Indian independence, remember it, okay? But the month is March, right? His poetry is influenced by, of course, the oral tradition of his Yoruba culture. Yoruba culture, Yoruba, Yoruba culture. Okay, dialects are there in Africa. Different dialects, different tribal communities are there, tribal groups are there. Each tribal group has its own dialect, okay, has its own language. Some dialects have the lyrics, some dialects don't have the lyrics, that means writing. Okay, so that is why oral culture came into existence from long back, from ancient times in Africa. So he originated from Yoruba oral culture, right? And he is a committed writer with a staunch belief in freedom of speech. He is the proponent of freedom of speech. Okay, so he advocates freedom, free expression, freedom of speech. So he is the proponent of freedom of speech. You remember the awards which are bestowed on this Nii Vasundar are Commonwealth Poetry Prize. Commonwealth Poetry Prize is given to the writers from the countries which were under British imperialism. Indian writers also get Commonwealth prizes. Okay, Commonwealth Poetry Prize is given to his The Eye of the Earth. Okay, and one more award, prestigious award called Noma Award, Noma, Noma Award. It is an African prestigious award like our Gnanapita Award. it is given to his Waiting Laughters. Waiting Laughters, his writing, his book got Noma African prestigious, African prestigious award. His writings are associated with political activism, of course, his work, and environment, decolonization, black internationalism. Okay, these are the salient features of African poetry. Of course, he shares those features. Okay, and this is about Nii person there. Now let us go to the introduction of the poem. Earth Never Dies. Earth, the title you see, dear students, Earth Never Dies. Within the bracket he gives, our earth will not die. Okay, our earth will not die is the optimism. That is the optimism. Okay, so here the poetry, and now before we go to the poem, let me give you the definition of poetry. Okay, apart from William Wordsworth's definition, poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility. The poetry here evokes a concentrated imaginative awareness of experience, okay, or a specific emotional response through language chosen by the writer. Okay, so meaning, sound, rhythm attached to it. Okay, poetry has meaning, sound, and rhythm, and also awareness of experience. So it reflects it, what to say, it says awareness of experience, right? Experience of the poet, and emotional response. Okay, so the writer, the poet, is giving his emotional response to the response through his poetry, by what? Through his, through the language known. Okay, through the language chosen, and meaning will be there, rhythm will be there, sound will be there. That is the feature, that is the typical quality of the poetry. And apart from this, what is eco-critical poetry? Okay, eco-critical poetry shows the interrelationship between literature and poetry. Okay, poetry and sorry, interrelationship between literary poetry and the environment. Okay, so the relationship between environment and literary poetry. Okay, that means literature, environment and literature. The relationship between environment and literature is is what? Eco-critical literature. Okay, here eco-critical poetry is the interrelationship between poetry and the environment, right? It tells how the environment is reflected in literature, in poetry. Okay, so how environment is reflected in poetry, that is eco-critical poetry. So Earth Never Dies is an eco-critical poem. Why? Because it tells how the environment is reflected in this particular poem. That is why it is eco-critical poem. Okay, so oral quality of Yoruba culture. Let us see oral culture of Yoruba, oral quality of Yoruba culture. So this Yoruba culture consists of its own cultural philosophy, its own religion, and its own folk tales. Okay, folk tales, oral culture, I mean oral tales that are orally preserved, poems, songs that are orally preserved. Okay, for example, ballads we see in India, Lavani in Karnataka. So for some songs we don't find the lyrics. Okay, so they are transferred from mouth to mouth, from the generation to generation. That is oral culture. So Yoruba culture is one of such, right? And it has its own folk tales. Yoruba ethnic group people are there. Where do they inhabit? They are staying in Nigeria. Okay, so he belongs to Yoruba culture. He wasn't there, and this is emphasized in this poem. Okay, Yoruba culture is emphasized in Earth Never Dies, and this Earth Never Dies is written in elegiac tune. Elegiac tune in the sense sad, disappointing tune, and there is a blind faith that the change of the earth would be able to reverse the damage. Okay, so there is an everlasting faith that whatever we are doing to this earth, the damage, that definitely is going to reverse. Okay, so reverse is going to happen in future. That kind of blind faith is seen in this poem at the end. The idea of postmodernism is also there in this poem. What is this idea of postmodernism? Postmodernistic idea means what? So modernistic idea is distancing from typical ideas, okay, and establishing the ideas like politics, business, and taking a critical eye at the nature of the world, industrialization, pollution, exploitation, natural, telling about natural resources, etc. Okay, so remember, students, this poem Earth Never Dies is an eco-critical poem, and it is an African poem, and it is also it has also postmodernistic idea. Okay, so these points you have to remember. Right. So in this PPT, we have talked about Nii Wasunde as a Nigerian poet who was born on March 12, 1947 in Nigeria. His poetry is influenced by oral tradition of Yoruba culture, and he's an ardent believer in freedom of speech. The awards received by Nii Wasunde are Commonwealth Poetry Prize, Noma Award. Okay, his writings reflect political activism, environment, decolonization, and Black internationalism. Okay, so we also saw the poetry definition, like poetry evokes a concentrated imaginative awareness of experience or a specific emotional response through language chosen and arranged for its meaning, sound, and rhythm. Okay, we also saw eco-critical poetry as the interrelationship between literary poetry and the environment. Okay, oral quality of Yoruba culture also we talked about, and Yoruba culture is emphasized in this poem Earth Never Dies. Okay, so in this poem there is a blind belief, blind faith that the change whatever the earth is going to take is going to be reversed in future. Okay, a reversal damage. Okay, reversal to damage. The idea of postmodernism also we talked about. Idea of postmodernism is distancing from typical ideas and viewing the notions, phenomena like industrialization, pollution, exploitation of natural resources, etc. Okay, so dear students, let me share one more PPT now. Okay, just a minute. Yeah. Okay, so in this PPT, I am going to continue with the content points like presentation of the poem and recap. Okay, I am going to present the poem. We have seen so far introduction to the poem, introduction to the poet. Now I am going to give you the presentation of the poem. Presentation of the poem in the sense Earth Never Dies as an eco-critical poem with elegiac and optimistic tunes. Okay, themes and images of the poem, and poet's intention and conclusive decision of the poem. All these points I am going to discuss further in this video. Okay, so we talked about Nii Wasunde's country, we talked about his Yoruba culture, we talked about Earth Never Dies as an eco-critical poem. Okay, we talked about the two different tunes that are there, that are hidden behind the poem Earth Never Dies, that are elegiac tune and optimistic tune. Okay, all these things we saw in the beginning. Now let us go to the presentation of the poem. Okay, so here in Earth Never Dies, Nii Wasunde brings out the environmental awareness of the Earth's deterioration by human beings. Earth is getting deteriorated by human beings' greed and desire. Okay, desires are limitless. There is no end to human wants, right? So that is why earth is getting deteriorated. It is getting damaged by human beings day by day, eventually. Okay, Wasender shows here a great outlook on his knowledge of the environmental and industrial background. Okay, so he shows he has enormous knowledge regarding the industrialization and the environment, right? And in the beginning he gives a visual description that is shown very well, obviously, in his visual description in the beginning of the poem, of the way how the earth is being treated. Okay, earth is being polluted by human beings, how we are polluting the earth by releasing the waste productions from factories to lakes and streams, which end up in sickness of oceans and seas. Okay, or rivers and streams are getting polluted by factories and industries. Okay, so these rivers and streams get sick, right, by the chemicals, and they finally reach the sickly oceans, which in turn become more and more sick. Okay, and what is the result of this? The result of this is acid rain. Acid rain is going to fall and fall on this earth, which kills all the animals, all the birds. Okay, fish are dead in the sea. Excuse me, students. Okay, and as the poem, this kind of deteriorating picture we see in the beginning, at the outset, as the poem continues, develops, the tone completely changes. How? In the beginning, it has been a very depressing tone. As it develops, it turns into a reassuring, more and more optimistic about the Earth's well-being, about the Earth's future, right? And at the end, it establishes Earth's well-being in the future, the survival of the Earth. He is going to vindicate. Earth will survive. Okay, Earth will become good, pure, and our Earth will see again not an acid rain but a new rain. A new rain will occur. Okay, a new rain falls on this Earth. Tree will twitter, grasses will dance, and hills will rock with blooming harvests. Blooming harvest? The hills, what kind of harvest we give? What kind of harvest we see? See, harvest in the sense, if you sow the seeds, you will get the production. For example, if you sow the seeds of ragi or paddy, you will get the paddy as the yield, harvest. In the hills, what kind of harvest we get? Flowers, fruits, right? Fruits and flowers that are grown on the hills. Okay, so these hills will rock with new blooming, especially blooming, focus only on flowers. Okay, so hills will what to say, rock with newly bloomed flowers. The sea will drink to its heart's content the new rain drops. The jubilant thunder flings open the sky gate. Okay, the sky gate is opened. As the sky is open, in that way, the new rain is going to fall on this earth. Okay, so this is about the poem Earth Never Dies. Our earth will not die. Okay, it will survive. So we have come to the end of the video, dear students. At the end, let us recap. Okay, let us summarize what we have talked in this video as a session summary. We saw awareness of the earth's deterioration by human beings at the outset, and we also saw what kind of great outlook the poet has regarding environment, regarding the industries, all that. And we also talked about a visual description, how the earth is being treated by human beings in the beginning of the poem. Earth is being polluted by waste productions, waste outputs from the factories and the industries to lakes and streams, which end up in the sickness of ocean and seas. The result of this, of course, acid rain. If the acid falls like rain, what happens? Destruction everywhere. Okay, it kills all the animals and the lives down here on earth. The tone completely changes just after this. In the beginning, depressing tone will be there, elegiac tone will be there. After this moment, the tone drastically changes, so abruptly changes. It has the tone which has been depressed so far develops into a reassuring, more optimistic in the end. Okay, we have optimistic tone in the end of the poem. At the end, it establishes Earth's well-being in the future, the survival of the Earth. Dear students, we have come to the end of this video. Okay, thank you all for listening to me, lending your attention. Okay, in our next video, let us see the meaning words regarding this poem. Okay, thank you all. I am going to end the meeting.